In 2007, I first came to Belfast to work on a film called City of Ember. And what is now the Titanic Studios is where we built our large set. During my time in Belfast, I've got to meet some great filmmakers and some very talented youngsters. Today, I'm going to talk to Mr. David Atkin, who I managed to get on a film that we did here called A Christmas Star. I just want to talk to David about the films he's made, his love of films, and why he wants to have a career in the film industry. So, David, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I am very well, thank you, Terry.
So today we're really just going to talk about your wonderful YouTube channel you've got, the scripts you've written, a little bit about yourself and how you started, and what you want to achieve with your storytelling. So, when did you first realise that you liked watching films?
Oh, when I was 7.
And what was that? What was the first film that you saw?
The very first film I ever saw in a cinema theatre was George of the Jungle with Brendan Fraser in it.
And did that film excite you, or did it take a little bit longer for you to realise that you really enjoyed films?
It took many more years as I grew older and I was able to watch 15 rated and 18 rated films like Goodfellas. I really got the passion to get into the film industry.
And did you always want to be a writer, director? And I also know you like starring in your films as well. You wanted to be that auteur, that you had control over everything in the films.
Yes, exactly.
And did you start writing first so that you could do your films on... Was it specifically for YouTube that you wrote your films, or was it just something that you started with in the hope that you would one day get the chance to make them?
Well, originally my very first films, my early scripts and my early films were school projects because I was studying moving image for A-level at the time. So my first couple of films that I uploaded to my YouTube channel were pieces of practical school coursework, and I just love the whole process of making a film. You get a hypothetical idea in your head, you get that little light bulb moment, and that hypothetical idea evolves into printed words, and then through the cameramen, the actors and the rest of the technical crew, what originally started out as a hypothetical idea turns into a real life visual product for all to enjoy, and it's a process that I'm very happy to have experienced.
And is it the wonderful satisfaction you get out of sharing it with other people, so you get an audience reaction and they get to share your passion for that story? And I remember, I think you told me a story about when you would watch an audience applaud your film even before the credits started rolling.
Yes, back in 2018, my film Vigilante, I entered it into a film festival called Film Devar, and they held their event at a nightclub called The Black Box, and it's a 7 minute long film, so it's not that long. But towards the end of the film, even before the credits started to roll, the audience was already whooping and cheering and clapping their hands. And I just sat there with my pint and thought, yes, I wrote this, I directed it, I acted in it as the main antagonist, and people loved it. It's a euphoria like no other to make a film and for people to see it and appreciate it. It's a wonderful euphoric experience.
And when you make your films, do you have friends, do you have colleagues that you like to use as your cameraman?
Yes.
Yeah. And is that somebody that you would like to continue working with?
Yes.
Yeah. when you started making the films and you were getting praise for the films, did you then think, oh, I would love to move into the mainstream, either making films for the cinema or making television programs? Or were you happy to stay making your YouTube films?
At that time, I was okay just doing it for YouTube. But now that I'm 31 years old, I really want to get into the film industry and do it as a job.
And have you found any difficulties in getting into the film industry? Have you had a sort of pathway that you'd like to follow? Has that been difficult for you to make those contacts?
Yes, it has, because I unfortunately suffer from severe mental illness. I have depression and obsessive compulsive disorder, which has proved to be very debilitating in my personal life.
And but that hasn't really stopped you making films, though, has it?
No.
And it hasn't stopped you having great ideas to make films.
No, I still keep going. More ideas, new scripts.
So really, what we need to do is find a way of you being able to pursue your talents, but having an industry that can cater for that. So that if you do have moments where you're not well, that we find a way of helping you make your films around that.
Yes, exactly, and that's what should be done, because I'm sure there are many others like me who have mental health problems, who have got their stories that they want to tell, whether it be their minority, creed, disability, whether it be physical or mental. The industry should reach out to those individuals, because just because you have a handicap of some kind doesn't mean that you can't get into the industry, because I have really severe obsessive compulsive disorder and depression, and I've managed to make 78 videos for my YouTube channel, and I've written and published 2 novels in my lifetime. So if I can do it, believe me, anybody can do it.
And what I'm hoping is that will you be able to submit a script to our project that we're doing with the British Academy? Because I'd love to move that forward and introduce your script and your ideas to other Academy members.
I'd hope to, yes.
And when you started making films, I think we've discussed it in the past, you tend to like horror movies, don't you? You like to and you like playing the baddie.
Yes, I do.
So I would like to challenge you to maybe making a comedy horror. So, or is there humour in your films anyway?
If you look very closely, you will find that there is a degree of humour in my films. I mean, even Vigilante got a few chuckles out of the audience whenever it was showcased at the Black Box.
And do you mind me asking, does making the films help you with overcome the issues you have?
Yes.
And
because, I'm sorry to interrupt you,
Yep.
but whenever I have a project, the OCD goes away. I can single-handedly focus on that project, getting it made, ringing up my friends to be the cameraman to help direct, and me portraying and acting as a character. And that's what I love about filmmaking and acting. It's the ultimate form of expressionism.
And again, do you mind me asking a personal question? Sometimes when you've been making your films, have you had episodes during the making of them that you've had to postpone filming for a day or something like that? Or have you managed to keep going the whole time?
No, I've managed to keep going the whole time.
Which is fantastic, isn't it? Really fantastic. So how long do you think from the moment that you have that idea that you want to turn into a script and then you write it and then you film, how long does that process normally take you?
Well, it depends on the circumstances. For example, one film I made, it took about 3 years to make, ever since I wrote the script. I wrote the script in 2014, and it didn't get made and uploaded until 2017. But that was because I didn't have a cameraman to do the recording for me. But in the end, eventually I found somebody who did it for me, and we got the film completed, edited and uploaded. And for that 3-year wait to finally go away and to have this project I was passionate about, I'm truly thankful to the person who made it happen when I found him through contacts.
And then, and with that, do you know? Is there a particular camera you like using when you're making your films, or is it whatever camera's available?
Well, I'm not technically minded. I'm more of a writer and an actor than I am a director. So cameras I'm not too familiar with, but I started using a video cassette camera way back when I started in 2008. And then over time I bought new cameras that were HD, and I currently have a DSLR camera.
Excellent. And are you working on a script at the moment that you hope to film soon? Or can I interrupt you and try and get you to maybe think of a script that we might be able to use?
I'm working on a couple of scripts, one of which I think could work for this project.
Oh, brilliant. Well, what we'll do, we'll have to get you to send a treatment for us so we can... Is that the one where you haven't quite worked out the third act yet?
Yes, it is.
Well, as I said, well, I'm working on a film at the moment. We haven't even got the second act, let alone the third act. But I've lost all my questions I wanted to ask you. I don't know if I can remember what they were, but are there any favourite directors that you have?
Martin Scorsese.
And why do you like him particularly?
Because the man is a genius. If you combine him, Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci, it's dynamite. I mean, you can't go wrong with those three men working together. I also like George Lucas for creating the Star Wars universe. Just this big epic franchise of good versus evil and heroes versus villains, because that's my shtick. That's something that I like to do, having a hero pitted against a villain and the forces of good overcoming the forces of evil.
That's good. So with a happy ending, do you like happy endings?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And what about, are there script writers that you really like, that you say, oh yes, I'd like to be able to write a script like, I'm trying to think, maybe Roald Dahl or somebody like that, or do you like all kinds of scripts?
I would say I'm not bound to a particular type of script. If it looks good to me from my personal point of view, I'll enjoy it. So it's literally just all about what it is, because as I said, I'm not bound to a specific genre.
And
like anything that reads good, I'll like it.
And because I can't remember if we've ever discussed if you've ever seen Casablanca with Humphrey Bogart and Claude Rains and Ingrid Bergman. Have you ever seen that?
I'm afraid I haven't, no.
Right, well that's the list I'm sending you of films we've got to see before we do the next interview is getting longer and longer. But is there anything else you'd like to tell me about your career and the way it's gone, and the fact that you have, and the fact that you have got a YouTube channel of films that you've made, which are very, very well done and very interesting. Did you see that happening when you were younger, or again has that developed as the technology's developed?
No, never did I think that there would be a chance in hell. Whenever I first started my YouTube channel, I was 17, but little did I know about the incredible life experiences and people who I've met literally as a result of making a YouTube channel. I've met you, for example, Terry Bamber, assistant director, location manager, etc., etc. Anything behind the scenes, you've done it. I've met famous actors and actresses like Saoirse Ronan, Robert Carlyle, Bruna Waugh. All of those things and life experiences happened because I decided one day in May of 2008, I want to make a YouTube channel and upload my coursework to it. And then years later, all of these things happened, and I never thought I would be a background extra in a big feature-length film, which is thanks to you, Terry. You got me into it.
Well, but David, because the other thing is that getting back to the issues of getting a career, have you applied for many jobs as maybe as a production runner or as an assistant to try and get into a television company or a film company?
Not that I recall,
yeah.
No.
And would that be a route that maybe you would want to try to, if the opportunity did come up, that somebody said, no, you must carry on with your writing, carry on with your YouTube work, but why don't you come and maybe get work experience as a trainee assistant director or something? Is that something that if you were offered that, you would like to take that route?
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I think we've discussed a lot here. I'm intrigued to read your new treatment for the film you're working on, and I'd just like you to do a little advertisement to everybody for your video channel, just to give them the details of how to find it on YouTube, because it's a great channel.
Okie dokie. Yeah. My YouTube channel is Diamond Dave Channel, all one word, no spaces, Diamond Dave Channel. My name is David Aiken on YouTube. But if you type in Diamond Dave Channel, all in one word and no spaces, you should be able to find me, David Aiken.
Excellent. Thank you very, very much, David. And here's to us working
Terry.
together in the future. And thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.